All right, I need you to imagine walking into a fancy department store in London. You are browsing the shelves, maybe looking for a nice gift. And then you turn a corner, and there, for sale, sitting in a cage between the furniture and the pet supplies, is a lion. An actual, real, live lion cub. And you can just buy him. Because in 1969, at Harrods in London, that is exactly what you could do. And two young men did. What happened next became one of the most beautiful, tear-jerking animal stories ever caught on camera. This is the story of Christian the lion. So settle in, because I promise, by the end, you are going to feel something. Let's rewind to 1969. London is swinging, and two friends from Australia, John Rendall and Anthony Bourke, known to everyone as Ace, are living the London life. One day, they visit Harrods, the famous luxury department store, which back then had an exotic animals department. Yes, that was a real thing. You could buy exotic pets right there in the store. And sitting in that department was a tiny lion cub, born in a zoo, now stuck in a small cage, looking utterly miserable. John and Ace took one look at him and fell completely in love. And so, on what I can only describe as an incredible impulse, they bought him. They bought a lion from a department store, and they named him Christian. Now, obviously, this raises one enormous question. Where on earth do you keep a lion in central London? And the answer is genuinely one of the most charming things I've ever heard. John and Ace ran a furniture shop on the King's Road in Chelsea. The shop was called, and I love this, Sophisticat. And so Christian moved in. He lived in the basement, he roamed around the shop, and he became the most famous cat in Chelsea. Their friends helped look after him. And for a while, this lion lived a completely surreal London life. And honestly, the details of that life are wonderful. Christian would play football in a nearby churchyard where the local vicar kindly let him run around. He rode in the back of their car. He went to restaurants. He was gentle, affectionate, and playful. And he adored John and Ace like they were his parents, because as far as he was concerned, they were. He would wrestle with them, curl up with them, and greet them with the pure, overwhelming joy that only an animal who loves you completely can manage. The three of them were a family, an absolutely absurd family, but a family all the same. But there was, of course, a ticking clock over all of this, because a lion cub does not stay a cub. Christian grew and grew and grew. Within a year, he had gone from a small bundle you could carry to a powerful young lion weighing well over 80 kilograms. He was still gentle, still loving, but he was becoming enormous, and John and Ace, who loved him more than anything, had to face a heartbreaking truth. A lion cannot spend his life in the basement of a furniture shop in Chelsea. It was not fair to him. He was a wild animal, built for the plains of Africa, not the King's Road. They knew they had to find him a better life. They just had no idea how. And then, an incredible coincidence. Two people walked into the shop one day. Bill Travers and Virginia McKenna, the actors who had starred in the famous film Born Free, a movie about raising a lioness and releasing her back into the wild. They met Christian, and they said, "We know exactly who can help you." His name is George Adamson. George Adamson was a legendary conservationist in Kenya. He and his wife Joy were the real-life couple behind Born Free. They had actually done it. They had raised a lioness named Elsa and successfully returned her to the wild. And George agreed to take on the seemingly impossible challenge of turning Christian, a lion raised in a London furniture shop who had never so much as seen the African bush, into a genuine wild free lion. So in 1970, with heavy hearts and enormous hope, John and Ace flew Christian to Kenya, to a remote reserve called Kora, to begin his new life. And this was not easy. Think about it. Christian had spent his whole life around humans. He did not know how to hunt. He did not know the other lions. He did not know the dangers of the wild. George Adamson had to patiently, slowly teach this pampered London lion how to actually be a lion. It took time. But Christian was a natural. Bit by bit, he learned. He grew stronger, wilder, more confident. He began to form bonds with other lions. He was, against all odds, becoming exactly what he was born to be. A wild, free king of the African bush. And here, finally, we arrive at the moment, the moment this whole story is famous for. Because in 1971, about a year after they had said goodbye, John and Ace decided to travel back to Kenya. They wanted to see Christian one more time, but everyone warned them not to get their hopes up. Christian was a wild lion now. He had his own territory, his own pride. He was twice the size he had been. It had been a year, which is a very long time in a lion's life. The experts told them, quite seriously, that he almost certainly would not remember them. And even if some part of him did, approaching a fully grown wild male lion is an incredibly dangerous thing to do. He might not recognize them at all. He might even see them as a threat. But John and Ace had to know. So they went out into the bush, and they waited. And then, in the distance, up on a rocky outcrop, Christian appeared. He stopped. He stared down at these two small figures. For a moment, everything hung in the balance. Was this the loving cub they raised, or was this now a wild predator who had forgotten them entirely? And then Christian started to move toward them. Slowly, at first. Cautiously, head low, studying them. And then, all at once, something clicked. He broke into a run, bounding down the rocks straight at them, and John and Ace opened their arms. And this enormous wild lion did not attack. He leapt up, stood on his hind legs, wrapped his huge front paws around their shoulders, and buried his face against theirs, rubbing his head against them, overcome with joy. He remembered. Of course he remembered. He was hugging them. This wild lion was hugging the men who had raised him, purring and nuzzling like the affectionate cub he had once been, as if no time had passed at all. And it gets even better. Because Christian then did something extraordinary. He turned, and he brought his lionesses over. He introduced his human family to his lion family. His pride, wild lionesses who had every reason to be wary of two strange men, allowed them close, because Christian trusted them. It was, by every account of the people who were there, one of the most moving things they had ever witnessed. A reunion between a man and a lion that should not have been possible, filled with nothing but love. And luckily for all of us, some of it was caught on film, in a documentary about Christian's journey. There is one final, quieter twist to this. Because in 1973, John and Ace went back one last time. By now, Christian was even bigger, a magnificent wild lion, ruling his own territory with cubs of his own. And even then, even after all that time living completely wild, he came to them again. He still knew them. That was the last time they ever saw him. Not long after, Christian melted into the wild for good, living out his life exactly as he was meant to. Free. And here's the part that turns this from a lovely story into a genuine phenomenon. For decades, that reunion footage sat mostly forgotten. But then, in the age of the internet, someone found it, cut it together with a bit of emotional music, and put it online. And it absolutely exploded. More than 30 years after it happened, the video of Christian hugging John and Ace became one of the most watched, most shared, most cried over videos on the entire internet. Millions upon millions of people, total strangers, sitting at their computers, weeping over a lion hugging two men in a field in Kenya in 1971. So here is why this story stays with me. On the surface, it starts as a completely absurd tale. Two guys walk into Harrods and casually buy a lion, which, to be clear, you absolutely should not be able to do, and thankfully cannot anymore. But what it becomes is something genuinely profound. It is proof that the bond between a human and an animal can be so deep, so real, that a wild lion, living free, surrounded by his own kind, will still cross the savannah and throw his arms around the people who loved him. Love, it turns out, does not care that you are supposed to be a fearsome predator. It just remembers who was kind to you. Christian was not really a pet who became a wild lion. He was proof that love is stronger than instinct, and that it can survive absolutely anything, even the wild. If you enjoyed this one, stick around, because there are so many more incredible animal stories where this came from. And go on, be honest, you teared up a little. I did too. I'll see you in the next one.